Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
Hey everyone, glad to be here.
Today, we're jumping into some really interesting tech questions people have been asking online lately. We've looked at the sources, and we're ready to break it down.
Yeah, we've got quite a mix. Everything from choosing absolutely massive TVs, like 98-inch plus for sports,
Huge.
to figuring out how to watch TV in the dark without hurting your eyes. And also, that big question, how long should your expensive TV actually last?
And we're also shifting gears, literally, to look at cars. Apple, CarPlay, Ultra. What is it? How's it different?
And how it stacks up against what Google's doing with Android Auto and Android Automotive.
Exactly. So our mission today is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Cut through the jargon, pull out the key insights from these discussions, and give you the useful info you need.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so first topic. This quest for the giant sports TV. Someone's looking for 98 inches or even bigger. Mostly for sports streaming, like YouTube TV or ESPN, but movies too.
Right. And the very first thing you hit with screens that size is, well, the price tag.
Oh, yeah.
The sources show a huge range. I mean, really wide.
You got the super high-end stuff. Samsung's 98-inch Q90D is around, what, 10 grand?
10,000, yeah.
Yeah.
And the QN90F is even more, closer to $15,000.
Wow. It feels almost like nuts even saying those prices for television.
It's definitely top tier. Sony's got a new one too, their 2025 Bravia 5 Mini LED, 98 inches. That one's listed around $6,500.
Still a lot of money, but I guess less than 15 grand.
Significantly less, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting for people maybe not wanting to spend used car money on a TV.
Right, the value options.
Exactly. The sources really highlight Hisense and TCL, they're big mini LEDs.
Okay.
Specifically, the TCL 98-inch QM7K Quantum Dot Mini LED. One source mentioned seeing it on sale recently for $2,800.
$2,800 for 98 inches.
Yeah, that's like 44% off the list price. It's got Dolby Vision, Atmos, DTS, all the good stuff. For under $3,000, the source called it a steal.
That sounds like a steal.
Yeah.
And for sports, which is the main thing the listener asked about.
It's apparently really good. Excellent SDR brightness, which is key if you're watching during the day or in a room that isn't pitch black. And importantly, great upscaling because, let's face it, a lot of sports streaming content isn't exactly pristine 4K quality. It handles that lower bitrate stuff well.
That's a really practical point. What else in that range?
Well, there's the TCL QM6K, also 98 inches. Slightly cheaper than the QM7K, maybe a few performance compromises, but based on how well the smaller versions reviewed, probably still really solid.
Okay.
And then Hisense has their 100-inch U7QG, often around that same $3,000 mark. Very similar specs to the TCL QM7K, just, 2 inches bigger.
So bottom line for giant sports screens, if you want good performance without spending 10 grand.
TCL and Hisense are the names that keep coming up in the sources. Great brightness for sports, good for movies too with HDR, and just way, way better value.
Makes sense. Now, the other part of that question was about using something like an Apple TV for upscaling. Like, would that make the picture better?
Yeah, good question. The clear answer from the sources is probably not for better upscaling.
Really?
Yeah, the TV's own processor, the chip inside the TV, it's designed specifically for that screen. It knows how to handle the pixels, how to upscale content best for that particular panel.
Okay, so it's optimized.
Exactly. Using an external box like an Apple TV, it won't necessarily make it worse, but it's unlikely to improve on what the TV can already do internally. You're probably best just using the TV's built-in apps for streaming.
That's good to know. And it circles back to the price thing, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is the picture on a $10,000 TV objectively 3 or 4 times better than the picture on a $3,000 TV?
Probably not, right?
I mean, maybe marginally better in some ways, but justifying that price gap, it's tough. The sources suggest doing your research, checking forums, seeing what real users say.
And think about what else you could do with that $7,000 or $12,000 you save.
Right. A serious sound system upgrade, a couple of nice vacations.
Good point. Oh, and a quick timing note. The sources mentioned Memorial Day weekend often has TV sales. So if you're listening to this around then and are in the market...
Worth keeping an eye out for deals, for sure.
Okay, moving from massive screens to maybe more sensitive eyes. We had another question about eye strain, specifically in a dark room. This person has a Hisense U8, and even with the brightness turned down low, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. The first thing the sources suggest is checking the picture modes.
Like standard or vivid?
Exactly. Those modes often push a cooler, sort of bluish color temperature, and blue light can be harsher on the eyes, especially in the dark.
So what's the fix?
Try switching to a theater or filmmaker mode. These modes are designed to be more accurate, but they also typically use a warmer color temperature, which is generally much easier on the eyes in low light.
Some TVs even have specific night modes, right?
Yeah. Yes, the U8 might even have a dedicated theater night or similar mode. Definitely worth checking the picture settings menu for that. It's designed precisely for this scenario.
Okay, but what if tweaking the settings just isn't enough?
If it's still causing strain, the sources suggest looking at, perhaps surprisingly, some budget-friendlier OLED TVs.
OLED. Aren't they usually super bright?
The high-end ones can be, yes. But models like the LG B4 or B5 or Samsung's S85D or S85F, they tend to have lower peak brightness compared to their flagship cousins, like the LG G series or Samsung S95 series.
Oh, okay.
And in a dark room, you actually don't need that searing brightness. You get that perfect black level and contrast from OLED, but with a more controlled, less intense overall light output. That combination can be much more comfortable for darkroom viewing.
So lower peak brightness is actually a feature, not a bug in this specific context.
Exactly. For someone sensitive to brightness in the dark, it could be a really good solution.
Which brings us, kind of naturally, to the lifespan question. People spend a lot on these TVs. How long should they actually expect them to last?
It's the $1,000,000 question, or maybe the $3,000 question these days. The general consensus from the research seems to be somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10? That's a pretty wide range.
It is, because a lot depends on different factors. First, obviously, how much you spent. If you shelled out for a top-of-the-line OLED or mini OLED, you're definitely hoping for the longer end of that range, right? You expect 5+ years easily.
Makes sense. You paid for quality.
And generally you get it. The sources do suggest that higher tier models tend to use better components, better build quality overall, which should translate to better longevity. But they're still complex electronics. Lots of parts, lots of things that could potentially fail, even on expensive models. You don't always need the absolute most expensive latest thing either. Sometimes models from the previous year offer great value and are still built well.
Okay, so build quality matters. What else?
How you use it. You know, how hard you drive the TV, so to speak. Simple stuff, really. Using screensavers. Not leaving bright, static logos or news tickers on screen for hours and hours, especially with OLEDs, because of burn-in risk.
Right, burn-in is still a thing to be mindful of with OLED.
It's much less of an issue than it used to be with all the mitigation tech built in now, but yeah, basic care helps. Turning the TV off when you're not actually watching it. Seems obvious, but it all adds up over years of use.
And warranty. How important is that?
Hugely important, according to the sources. It's your safety net. They mention LG offering a 5-year panel warranty on their very high-end G, M, and Z series OLEDs.
5 years is pretty good.
It suggests the manufacturer is confident in the product's durability, right? You kind of get what you pay for in terms of that assurance. Checking the warranty period is definitely part of the research when buying.
So no absolute guarantees, but with good research, careful use, and maybe a little luck.
Yeah, your TV should hopefully last you several years. Honestly, quite often, tech advances so fast that you might find yourself wanting to upgrade for new features well before the old TV actually gives up the ghost.
Okay, let's totally switch gears now. From the living room to the car. We need to talk about Apple CarPlay Ultra.
Right, and first off, the name. Sources are clear. It's CarPlay Ultra, not CarPlay 2, which was just something the media kind of ran with for a while.
Got it. CarPlay Ultra. Where can you actually get this right now? Because I haven't seen it around much.
You haven't seen it much because right now it's only available in some very, very expensive cars. We're talking certain BMWs and Aston Martins.
Ah, so not exactly mainstream yet.
Not even close. Big cost barrier. But the good news is Apple has confirmed other more mainstream manufacturers are working on it. Hyundai, Genesis, Kia were mentioned specifically. So hopefully it'll trickle down to more affordable cars in the future.
Okay, assuming it does become more common.
Yeah.
What makes it Ultra? How is it different from the regular CarPlay lots of people use now?
So standard CarPlay, it basically just mirrors some key apps from your iPhone maps, music, messages, that kind of thing, onto the car's main screen.
Yeah, it's handy for navigation and music.
It is, but it's still pretty separate from the car's own systems. You still have to
Yeah.
jump out of CarPlay to adjust the climate control or change the radio station if you're listening to AM/FM or tweak vehicle settings.
Right.
CarPlay Ultra goes way deeper. It actually integrates with the car's underlying operating system,
Amen.
meaning you can control many of the car's core functions directly from within the CarPlay Ultra interface. Things like the basic radio tuner, climate settings, maybe even driving modes, depending on the car maker's implementation. It's all supposed to be in one place using that familiar Apple design language.
Okay, that sounds like a much tighter integration, less switching back and forth.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop at the center screen. It can also extend to the digital instrument cluster, the screen behind your steering wheel.
Oh, interesting.
It allows for customized views there, too. You could have your speed and range, like normal, but maybe also Apple Maps navigation prompts or what music is playing, all integrated right in your line of sight. The sources described it as having all the information you want where you want it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that does sound quite advanced. Now, there was a counterpoint in the sources, someone mentioning that some car makers are actually bringing back physical buttons for things like AC.
Mm-hmm.
People find touchscreens annoying for that.
That's a totally fair point. Fiddling with touchscreen climate controls while driving can be distracting and, yeah, annoying.
So is Ultra a step backward in that sense?
I don't think the sources see it quite like that. While the specific issue of touchscreen climate controls is valid, the overall scope of CarPlay Ultra is much bigger. It's about integrating the phone experience across many different car systems and displays. It's a push towards a more unified digital cockpit, even if individual control methods, like climate, might still be debated or refined. It's aiming for more comprehensive integration, not less.
Makes sense. What about the cost? Do I have to pay Apple extra to use CarPlay Ultra if my car supports it?
Nope. Good news there. The sources say there's no extra charge from Apple if you have a compatible iPhone, which means an iPhone 12 or newer.
Okay, so
It'll-
needs a fairly recent phone.
Yes, iPhone 12 or later. And of course, a car that's actually built with CarPlay Ultra support. If you have both those things, using it is free.
What's Google doing in this space? Do they have an answer to CarPlay Ultra?
Oh, absolutely. Google's definitely watching. They have Android Auto, which is the direct competitor to standard CarPlay mirrors apps from your Android phone.
Right.
But they also have something potentially more advanced in some ways. Android Automotive OS.
Android Automotive.
Yeah.
How's that different?
Android Automotive isn't just mirroring apps. It's a full-blown operating system for the car itself, built on Android. It runs natively without needing your phone connected to work for core functions. It has Google Maps, Google Assistant, Play Store apps, all built right in.
Like in some Polestars and Volvos and others?
Exactly. So you could argue that in cars using Android Automotive, Google is maybe even ahead because it's a complete standalone car OS, whereas CarPlay Ultra, even though it's deeply integrated, still fundamentally relies on having that compatible iPhone connected.
Interesting distinction.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, for someone asking about their older car, say a 2013 Camry.
Yeah, unfortunately, no chance. CarPlay Ultra, like Android Automotive, requires specific hardware and software built into the car from the factory, plus that recent iPhone for Ultra. It's not something you can add easily to an older vehicle.
Okay, wow. That was a lot to unpack. We went from giant TVs and eye strain
To TV lifespans, warranties.
and all the way into the future of car dashboards with CarPlay Ultra and Android Automotive.
It really shows how much there is to consider with tech these days, doesn't it? Whether it's a screen in your home or the system in your car, the details matter. Price, performance, features, how long it'll last, how it integrates.
It's complex. Prices are all over the place, features lists are endless, and everything seems to be connecting to everything else.
Yeah, the integration is getting deeper and deeper.
So it kind of leaves you with a final thought, maybe something to chew on. As all this tech gets more powerful, more integrated, promising us more convenience, more control, are we actually getting essential stuff that makes life simpler?
Or are we just adding more layers, more
Yeah.
complexity, more things to manage, and often, more cost, both upfront and potentially down the line?
Definitely something to think about as you navigate your own tech choices.
Food for thought, indeed.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech.
Yeah, great discussion.
If you enjoyed the episode, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions. We'll catch you on the next one.